All right, we're about halfway through the year, a little more than halfway through the year. What books are left that are on my radar? And what I mean by, like, on my radar, I mean, I want to see what the reviews are. I want to see if I would like it. I'm probably not going out of my way to purchase a bunch of these. I don't think I have arcs of a lot of these. My reading's pretty inconsistent right now. I have an arcs of a few of these, and some of these I am more invested in than others because they're continuations of series. But I also just, like, bumbled about on the internet and looked at some Reactor magazines and some Book Riot magazine, like, blog posts, and was like, ooh, didn't know that was there. That's interesting. And, so now I just have, like, a list of books that, like, if I'm at a bookstore, I'll pick it up, read the first chapter. If I see it in a thumbnail, I might click on that video, see what someone thought about it. That sort of thing. So let's start with the books that I am most likely to pick up because I've read these authors before, they're continuations of series, etc., etc. We have The Unicorn Hunters by Catherine Arden. This might already be out. I don't know the dates of anything, but I have not read this book yet. Seen very mixed reviews, so we'll see where I fall. I've actually not, like, had a miss with her, and I haven't tried her middle grade stuff, but Baron the Nightingale and Warm Hands of Ghosts, all hits for me. I don't even know what this is about. This is on the list purely off author recognition alone. Similarly, the third book in the Tainted Cup series, whatever that's called, The Leviathans, maybe, it's called A Trade of Blood by Robert Jackson Bennett. Also, an author I haven't really had a miss from. I've read, 8 of his books now. And, like, they're never favorites of all time, but they're always at least 4 stars. I always have an enjoyable experience. I bet I'll listen to this on audio because listening to the second book on audio was a great time for me. We have the new M.A. Carrick, The Eye of the Leviathan. Excited and scared to read this. I just finished my Rook and the Rose trilogy reread. If you don't know, it's one of my favorite series of all time. So already, like, I know this is a different project. I know this is a different world, different characters. And so, like, I'm going to trust the process. I'm going to hope I find something that I find to fall in love with, just like Rook and the Rose. But this will be my first time reading a project by these authors that's not with my, like, favorite characters in one of my favorite places, So, we'll see. We have the third book, the final book, by Leigh Bardugo in this trilogy called Deadbeat. I don't know if it's the final book. Starts with Ninth House. Second book was Hellbent. I really liked listening to the audiobook of Hellbent. And so I'll probably do this one on audio when it comes out. I assume it's coming out in the fall, so it's probably going to be a great October read for me. Like, I think that'll actually be really fun. If you haven't heard of Ninth House, I think you're lying to me because, like, goodness knows, Leigh Bardugo is, like, a stupid popular author. Like, I think every time she has a book in the Goodreads Choice Awards, that book wins. Or is at least in the top 5. Daggerbound by T. Kingfisher, sequel to Swordheart. I actually do have the arc of this. I should be picking it up. I should prioritize this. In general, I haven't read a T. Kingfisher in a hot minute. And I feel like I need to prioritize her in general, especially since I've been slumpy and she tends to have a very digestible, engaging style. And then Shauna McGuire's Ink Pots, the 4th book in the Alchemist Journals series, the beginning being Middle Game, one of my favorite books of all time. None of the other books have remotely touched it, but I'm in too deep at this point, and I requested a book from the publisher. I think I requested, or they just sent it to me. I don't know. I have the 4th book. I should read it at some point. Now, when I was looking at other things, this is kind of like my transition book between books I want to read because I know the authors, I know the series, and books that I, like, just learned about, and I'm kind of like, interesting. So there's a book called Library of Mount Char that I really like. I remember picking it up on a whim because I think this was back in the day where I was, like, on the fantasy subreddit, and this is, like, back, like, fantasy subreddit is, like, in some ways very different and very the same as 2017, 2018. Might have been 2018. It's before I know about BookTube or anything like that. And someone's, like, recommending the Library at Mount Char, and I'm like, sure, I'll read this. And I go find it, I read it, and I'm completely consumed by this chaotic, wild mess of a story for, like, 4 days. And he finally wrote a second book. And it's coming out this year, called Blacktail. Yeah, I don't know what it's about, but, like, sure. You spent 10 years working on your sophomore novel, I hope it works out. So yeah, I don't think it has any connection to the Library at Mount Char. I think it's focused a little bit more on primordial nature vibes. Unsure. Like, truly, I have no idea. This is truly based off the intrigue of how much I found Library at Mount Char bananas and engaging. There weren't that many sci-fi for me to, like, latch onto, because per usual, we're not marketing sci-fi very well. Or, like, when I did find sci-fi books, I had already read the ones that I was interested in. But there's this kind of, like, hive mind book, dystopian, called We by Christelle Debos that I'm like, tentatively I would try the first chapter and see if it, like, is an engaging dystopian time. I think it's, like, hive mind, but there's still, like, dystopian hierarchy qualities and the whole, like, we have to figure out the system we live in is not what we actually thought. And is that, like, cliche? Yes, but is it? It hits. It hits. So, yeah. We have a Hannah Kenner coming out this year. Canner? Someone tell me. She wrote Faithbreaker and a trilogy that I haven't read. Godkiller was the first book in that series. But this is a new book, looks like potentially a standalone, called A Snake Among Swans. That, like, I cautiously was like, I haven't read some new fantasy in a minute. Like, not romantasy fantasy or something. Like, this seems like it's, like, political intrigue, world-building fantasy. Again, based off reviews, I'd be curious. We have a new Tananari Do. That is, I think, inspired by or an extension of a short story in a short story collection I have upstairs called Maisiewood. So, yes, I don't know anything about it. This is based off author recognition. And actually, the next one should have been put up in the higher category. I just forgot that this book was coming out and I got excited. This is The Unhaunting by Micaiah Johnson. This is Micaiah Johnson writing a haunted house book. Things I love, Micaiah Johnson. Things I love, haunted house books. So yeah, that's a book that I'm going to hunt down. That's a book I'm going to find. This next one, the title got me. Like, the title got me. I think it's also a non-Western story, which also I'm always intrigued by. And the description that was in the magazine was kind of like, you're dealing with weird things and also going to the grocery store. And I'm like, ooh, that sounds great. The title of this is The Compendium of Supernatural Entities Found in the Government Girls Higher Secondary School. I am intrigued. Consider me captivated. I would like to know what this is about, please. So, yeah. Don't know if I'd like it. But I think it might be the type of weird time I find engaging. Right now, I am less into tropes and predictability and more into what makes me feel comfortable, what makes me curious. And weird things make me curious. We have a new Temi O coming out called Not With a Bang. So this is another sci-fi one. I forget what type of sci-fi. She tends to do near future sci-fi. This one says it's a family drama at the end of the world about a crumbling household's attempt to find their way back to each other amidst a cataclysmic event. Sure. I've liked both the Temi O books I've read, so I would definitely give this one a go. And then the last book I have on my list is a John Scalzi, who I've never read from before. And I don't know if he's from Ohio, but he now lives in Ohio. And that's where I currently live. And the next book he's writing is called Monsters of Ohio. And I figure if there is a place for me to dip my toes into trying a John Scalzi, mayhaps it should be the Ohio book. So here I am. I don't know if I'll actually read it. Chances are it'll be a pretty popular book, so there'll be many, like, project excuses for me to read it. But that's tentatively, like, the list of books coming out this year that are kind of on my radar. And now I would like to ask you, what are books that you think should be on my radar? Because I know I've missed things. There's so many books that come out each year. I can't possibly keep track of all of them. So any genres that I like to read, and, you probably notice there's no, like, literary fiction or stuff on this list, but you can add those. Like, you guys know me. I read a bunch of everything. I tried to focus this on science fiction, fantasy, and horror, just to narrow my range for myself. And if you just want to leave an emoji to let me know you're here, the thing I am most excited about trying. What is the thing I'm most excited about trying? Honestly, It might be blacktail, so maybe put like a fox or a wolf kind of emoji down below. I did not know we were getting a new Scott Hawkins book. Like, I had no idea. No one's been talking about it that I've noticed. I'm sure someone has. I'm not good at watching anticipated releases videos. But I didn't know. And so I was pleasantly surprised. And otherwise, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.